30 times the sky betrayed us, as falling objects unleashed creatures that should never exist on American soil.
Not theories, not legends. Impact first, then movement. Metal splits open, shapes crawl out, wings stretch where gravity should win. Cameras freeze, witnesses panic, authorities arrive late. What's terrifying isn't a single clip, it's the pattern. Objects fall, creatures follow, and every time it's closer, clearer, undeniable. These aren't distant lights or blurry pixels. They are raw encounters caught at ground level, close enough to hear the impact, close enough to feel the fear. 30 incidents. One question: why is the sky delivering life we don't recognize? The footage doesn't ask you to believe. It forces you to watch. Before we go straight into the evidence and uncover what's been descending onto U.S. soil,
like, comment, and subscribe to Mystery Footage Uncovered before we expose what's above us.
At approximately 3:12 a.m. in a residential zone near Bend, Oregon, a fixed-position security camera operated by a private homeowner recorded an object descending vertically during a clear winter night. On camera, a circular structure impacts the ground. Caught on camera, figures emerge from the structure seconds later. Unidentified forms move with anomalous coordination around the object. The footage shows biological silhouettes operating around a metallic disc whose surface reflects light unevenly, suggesting non-standard materials, while the entities display movement inconsistent with human gait and appear unaffected by cold or impact force. Although the scene resembles staged debris, frame-by-frame analysis reveals no visible propulsion systems, no exhaust, and no mechanical articulation, raising the possibility of either unknown biomechanical integration or a controlled deployment system behaving more like a living organism than a vehicle, moving like equipment, yet reacting like something aware. If such objects can descend silently into populated areas without interception, what determines where they choose to arrive? During a severe electrical storm over coastal Florida, shortly after midnight, a handheld civilian camera captured footage while the operator filmed lightning activity offshore. On camera, a lightning strike illuminates the cloud base. Caught on camera, a dark figure drops vertically from the storm. Unidentified motion continues after the strike dissipates. The object does not tumble like debris, nor fall like a body. Instead, it maintains orientation while descending, briefly decelerates, then vanishes below the cloud layer, a behavior incompatible with aerodynamic drag, gravity-only motion, or known storm ejecta, suggesting either active control or interaction with electromagnetic forces within the storm itself, moved like a living thing but accelerated like a missile, echoing historical accounts of storm beings, described in pre-industrial folklore, now mirrored by modern high frame rate footage rather than myth. If storms can mask or power such movement, how often has violent weather concealed activity we never thought to question? In the late afternoon hours across rural Midwest farmland, a smartphone camera operated by multiple witnesses recorded an airborne incident under heavy overcast skies. On camera, a winged mass separates from the cloud layer. Caught on camera, it descends without flapping. Unidentified shape alters direction mid-fall. The entity's wing-like extensions bend under load, yet never perform a downstroke, eliminating conventional lift generation, while its descent pauses momentarily before a sharp lateral correction that exceeds tolerances of muscle-driven flight, implying either gravity manipulation or a biological structure capable of generating localized force fields. It hovered like a balloon yet turned like a fighter jet, behavior consistent with no known species, extinct or extant, but strangely aligned with ancient descriptions of sky serpents and thunderbirds reported across North America. If biological life can exist and maneuver above us without reliance on air or propulsion, what ecosystem does the sky actually support? At approximately 5:40 p.m. above Tampa, Florida, a civilian phone camera captured a bright object descending against a clear blue sky during daylight hours. On camera, the object emits no contrail. Caught on camera, it accelerates downward silently. Unidentified motion ends abruptly mid-descent. The object's luminosity remains constant despite speed changes, ruling out atmospheric burn or re-entry physics, while its sudden deceleration contradicts inertia expectations, suggesting either an internal mass dampening system or a biological mechanism capable of withstanding extreme g-forces. Unlike debris, it behaves intentionally, yet unlike aircraft, it produces no aerodynamic signature, neither stall nor glide, indicating a form of movement not dependent on lift, thrust, or gravity alone. If objects can enter and exit our airspace without heat, sound, or trace, what monitoring systems are they already bypassing? Following heavy rainfall in Tijuana, adjacent urban streets, a vehicle-mounted dashcam and multiple phones documented a sudden mass fall event during early morning hours. On camera, small biological forms cover the roadway. Caught on camera, they fall without storm winds. Unidentified distribution suggests aerial release. Meteorological data shows no tornadic activity, eliminating waterspouts or vortex transport, while the density pattern suggests a localized drop rather than scattered uplift, raising questions about whether these organisms were carried, stored, or released from altitude by a mechanism not accounted for in known weather systems. Historically dismissed as anomalies, similar events are recorded globally, but modern footage now aligns these reports with precise timing, altitude, and environmental data. If biological matter can be selectively transported and released from the sky, who or what is controlling the drop zones? During a winter storm in a U.S. suburban neighborhood, a home security system and eyewitness phones captured footage shortly before sunset. On camera, solid objects fall vertically. Caught on camera, impacts occur without cloud debris. Unidentified mass shows no fragmentation. The objects fall independently rather than dispersed by wind, with trajectories too controlled for hail and too localized for debris fields, suggesting deliberate release or gravitational anomaly, while radar data from nearby stations reportedly showed transient returns that failed to track like precipitation, behavior consistent with dense matter briefly interacting with atmospheric layers before disengaging. If solid mass can appear above residential zones without origin or warning, how many similar incidents have already been misclassified as weather? Shortly after sunrise along a remote Atlantic shoreline, a handheld smartphone camera operated by a beachgoer recorded an aerial anomaly during low tide and overcast conditions. On camera, a winged figure descends toward the sand. Caught on camera, a human-shaped mass hangs beneath it. Unidentified movement continues against strong coastal wind. The wingspan appears biologically articulated, yet the load beneath it exceeds the lift capacity of any known avian species, while the carrier maintains altitude without visible strain, flapping rhythm, or loss of stability. The suspended form swings freely, but never detaches, suggesting intentional transport rather than predation, and the flight path remains smooth, despite crosswinds that ground drones and helicopters in similar conditions. Moving like an animal, yet bearing weight like a machine, a combination that challenges both biomechanics and aerodynamics simultaneously. If biological entities can lift and relocate mass without visible effort, what else have they already learned to carry? At approximately 8:20 p.m. above Accra, Ghana, a vehicle-mounted dashcam captured a glowing object descending during active traffic hours. On camera, a red luminous point appears stationary. Caught on camera, it drops vertically without fragmentation. Unidentified brightness remains constant until ground loss. The object emits no smoke trail, sonic disturbance, or flicker consistent with meteors, flares, or aircraft distress signals, while its controlled descent speed contradicts freefall physics. The light neither dims nor accelerates, implying either internal power regulation or a plasma-like structure stabilized by electromagnetic interaction with the surrounding air. Behavior observed in multiple global incidents, yet rarely acknowledged in official explanations. If controlled luminous objects can descend silently into dense population zones, what protocols exist for events no system appears designed to intercept? During late evening hours in a suburban U.S. neighborhood, a fixed-position backyard camera recorded a segmented light formation crossing the sky. On camera, a dotted line forms mid-air. Caught on camera, it travels without deviation. Unidentified object leaves no acoustic signature. The evenly spaced illumination suggests neither debris breakup nor aircraft navigation lighting, while the absence of sound and the perfectly linear trajectory imply controlled motion rather than orbital decay. Frame analysis shows no parallax shift consistent with satellites at known altitudes, raising the possibility of atmospheric traversal at unconventional height or a multi-node structure moving as a single system. If objects can cross civilian airspace in silent formation without registering as aircraft or satellites, how crowded is the sky with traffic we are not tracking? At night above a major U.S. city skyline, a dashboard camera recorded multiple luminous trails descending simultaneously. On camera, parallel light paths appear overhead. Caught on camera, they descend in formation. Unidentified motion halts abruptly before ground level. The trails maintain equal spacing and brightness, contradicting meteor fragmentation, while their synchronized deceleration suggests coordinated control rather than atmospheric burn. Radar correlation from similar past events indicates transient returns that appear and vanish within seconds, leaving no recoverable debris or confirmed impact zones. If multiple objects can enter urban airspace in coordinated descent and vanish before contact, what determines whether they stop or continue all the way down? During heavy rain in a Texas commercial district, a front-facing phone camera operated by a civilian commentator recorded scattered biological matter across an open parking area. On camera, small bodies lie across asphalt. Caught on camera, no storm vortex is present. Unidentified origin remains unaccounted for. Meteorological data shows no waterspouts, tornadoes, or uplift mechanisms capable of selective transport, while the species involved display no signs of prolonged aerial exposure, suggesting short-duration displacement rather than natural migration. The pattern mirrors earlier incidents worldwide, now increasingly documented with precise time, location, and weather overlays. If living organisms can be relocated from the sky without storm systems, what method of transport leaves no trace except what falls? At approximately 6:45 p.m. in a suburban U.S. residential zone, a handheld smartphone camera operated by a pedestrian recorded a descending event near overhead power infrastructure. On camera, multiple incandescent trails appear simultaneously. Caught on camera, fragments fall parallel to utility lines. Unidentified motion continues without explosion. The glowing material sheds sparks yet maintains coherence far longer than molten debris or fireworks, while the descent angle remains consistent despite crosswinds and gravity-induced dispersion. No transformer failure or grid fault was reported, and the objects appear to avoid direct contact with cables, suggesting either guided descent or an interaction field altering fall trajectories. Burning like re-entry debris, but moving with controlled spacing inconsistent with breakup physics. If energized material can pass through critical infrastructure corridors without triggering failures, what tolerance margins are already being tested above civilian grids? During early morning hours in a secured European monument district, a professional-grade camera documented a sealed perimeter following an alleged impact. On camera, a fractured pod rests on stone ground. Caught on camera, a biological form sits upright inside. Unidentified presence is attended by hazmat personnel. The entity displays bilateral symmetry but disproportionate cranial volume, with limb articulation suggesting musculature unlike primates, while the enclosing structure shows layered composite material fractured inward rather than outward, implying controlled deceleration prior to ground contact. No scorch marks or debris field is visible, inconsistent with high-velocity impact, and the response posture mirrors containment rather than rescue. If recovery protocols are already in place for non-human occupants, how many similar events never reach public view? In full daylight above a rural open area, a zoom-enabled smartphone camera captured an aerial figure against a clear blue sky. On camera, elongated wings extend asymmetrically. Caught on camera, the figure banks without flapping. Unidentified motion sustains altitude unnaturally. The structure resembles avian morphology, but exceeds known aspect ratios for passive glide, while the body remains rigid during maneuvers that would require constant muscular correction. No thermal columns or updraft indicators are present, yet the object gains altitude briefly before exiting frame. Hovered like a glider, turned like a powered craft, and behaved unlike either. If the sky hosts organisms optimized for flight without effort, what evolutionary pressures shaped them beyond our visibility? During a rainstorm in a two-lane wooded roadway, a vehicle-mounted dashcam recorded sudden obstruction ahead. On camera, numerous small bodies cover the asphalt. Caught on camera, additional objects fall sporadically. Unidentified origin coincides with no storm vortex. Weather data confirms steady rainfall, but no tornadic uplift or waterspout formation, while the species involved show no trauma consistent with long-distance aerial transport. The distribution forms a narrow corridor rather than a scattered field, implying release rather than dispersal, and similar incidents have occurred globally with no consistent meteorological explanation. If living organisms can be relocated en masse without natural transport mechanisms, what process selects when and where they fall? At midday, within a dense city intersection, a phone camera operated from a vehicle recorded animals descending during light rain. On camera, poultry-sized bodies fall individually. Caught on camera, descent occurs without wind shear. Unidentified source remains above visibility. The fall rate is too slow for free drop, yet too fast for glide, suggesting partial arrest midair before release, while no flock behavior or panic response precedes the event. The animals appear disoriented but largely unharmed, indicating minimal time aloft and controlled vertical displacement rather than storm-driven lift. If biological cargo can be suspended and released selectively, what platforms exist above us that never appear on radar? During overcast conditions in a quiet residential neighborhood, a handheld phone camera documented an unprecedented fall event. On camera, multiple animals descend from cloud cover. Caught on camera, ground animals scatter below. Unidentified aerial activity persists overhead. Cats and other animals exhibit no impact trauma consistent with terminal velocity, implying slowed descent or staged release, while witnesses report no aircraft noise, balloons, or storm activity. The animal's calm behavior moments later suggests brief displacement rather than prolonged exposure, echoing historical accounts long dismissed as folklore but now documented in high-resolution video. If the boundary between ground life and sky activity is permeable, how long have such transfers been occurring unnoticed? At approximately 9:10 a.m., in a dense commercial district, a handheld smartphone camera operated by a shop owner documented an anomalous fall event during light rain. On camera, elongated biological fragments cover vehicles. Caught on camera, impact occurs without storm gusts. Unidentified material adheres to glass and metal. The organisms show no signs of long-distance desiccation or freeze damage, suggesting minimal time aloft, while their uniform distribution across rooftops and windshields contradicts splatter patterns expected from ground sources. No nearby construction, transport, or animal processing facilities were active, and radar logs show no weather cells capable of uplift, indicating a release from altitude rather than natural dispersal. If biological matter can be deposited precisely across city blocks, what delivery mechanism operates silently above populated streets? During overcast conditions above a rural municipality, a fixed-position outdoor camera recorded hundreds of small airborne organisms descending simultaneously. On camera, dark points fill the sky. Caught on camera, descent occurs uniformly. Unidentified swarm ignores wind vectors. The event lacks the chaotic turbulence typical of insect swarms, instead forming a slow, evenly spaced fall pattern, inconsistent with flight exhaustion or migration, while atmospheric data shows stable pressure and no convection. Similar phenomena have been reported historically as falls, yet modern footage now documents synchronized timing and altitude consistency across wide areas. If airborne biological groups can transition from controlled suspension to mass descent, what triggers the release, and who controls the timing? At night along a coastal promenade, a handheld phone camera operated by a bystander captured a luminous object descending behind illuminated structures. On camera, a bright column forms downward, Caught on camera, light persists without fragmentation. Unidentified motion continues below skyline level. The object's glow remains stable despite rapid descent, ruling out meteoric ablation, while the trajectory shows no parabolic arc, typical of gravity-only motion. The light column narrows as if collimated, suggesting controlled energy release or plasma confinement, moving like falling debris, yet behaving like a guided system. If high-energy objects can descend near civilian infrastructure without impact signatures, what margin separates observation from catastrophe? Shortly after midnight above a mountainous region, a vehicle dashcam recorded a bright object emerging from cloud cover. On camera, a spherical light exits the cloud base. Caught on camera, it decelerates abruptly. Unidentified object dims without explosion. The sudden speed reduction violates inertial expectations, implying either active braking or interaction with an unseen medium, while the absence of sonic boom or debris contradicts known re-entry events. The object's path appears vertical, not orbital, suggesting targeted descent rather than random entry. If objects can enter the lower atmosphere and halt without consequence, what capability governs their decision to stop or continue? During winter conditions in a snow-covered woodland, a tripod-mounted camera operated by responders recorded a search operation following a reported descent. On camera, a narrow beam scans the snowfield. Caught on camera, silhouettes stand at distance. Unidentified disturbance remains off-screen. Thermal readings show localized anomalies inconsistent with human presence, while no aircraft noise, crash debris, or footprints lead to a source. The search pattern suggests containment rather than rescue, indicating anticipation of movement rather than recovery of wreckage. If response teams search for something that leaves no debris, what exactly are they trained to contain? In daylight over an open agricultural field, a handheld phone camera operated by multiple witnesses recorded a descending disc-shaped object. On camera, a circular craft emits smoke. Caught on camera, dark material pours downward. Unidentified motion stabilizes above ground. The object maintains orientation despite visible damage, hovering briefly while expelling material that behaves neither like fuel nor debris, suggesting biological discharge or controlled venting. No audible propulsion or visible lift system is present, yet the craft resists gravity, hovered like a balloon, yet held position like a machine. If damaged objects can still control their descent and discharge contents safely, what fail-safe systems are built into technology not acknowledged to exist? At approximately 8:02 a.m., on a multi-lane urban roadway, a forward-facing dashcam operated by a civilian driver recorded a high-speed descent during peak traffic hours. On camera, a dark object drops vertically. Caught on camera, impact occurs meters ahead of vehicles. Unidentified debris continues downward with smoke. The object maintains a straight vertical axis rather than a ballistic arc, contradicting gravity-only debris, while the residual smoke column suggests thermal energy without visible explosion. Nearby vehicles report no shockwave, indicating controlled deceleration moments before impact. Moved like falling wreckage, but behaved like something guided, raising the possibility of aerial interception debris or a system designed to fail downward rather than outward. If objects can be neutralized above cities yet still fall intact into traffic lanes, how often are civilians placed beneath unseen interception zones? During early evening under heavy cloud cover in a semi-rural region, a handheld phone camera captured clustered lights moving within a storm cell. On camera, several lights pulse in formation. Caught on camera, they merge and separate. Unidentified motion ignores wind shear. The lights exhibit coordinated spacing and synchronized intensity shifts inconsistent with lightning, aircraft, or drones, while their movement appears constrained to a horizontal plane inside the cloud, suggesting either a shared control system or a single structure presenting multiple luminous nodes. Hovered like weather phenomena, yet maneuvered with intent, behavior long attributed to folklore, but now preserved in stabilized digital footage. If organized structures can operate inside storm systems without disruption, are clouds concealment or habitat? In daylight outside a commercial building entrance, a handheld smartphone camera documented the aftermath of an object falling directly onto a parked vehicle. On camera, A faceted metallic structure rests on the hood. Caught on camera, no impact crater is visible. Unidentified device remains largely intact. The object's geometry suggests engineered symmetry rather than random debris, while the lack of penetration or shattered glass implies reduced terminal velocity before contact. No aircraft activity, crane operation, or overhead infrastructure explains its arrival, and authorities quickly cordoned the area without public clarification. If engineered objects can descend into city streets intact, how many similar recoveries are classified before explanation is even requested? At dusk above a densely populated hillside settlement, a fixed-position security camera recorded a concentrated beam followed by a ground-level flash. On camera, a straight luminous line descends. Caught on camera, a single impact point ignites. Unidentified source remains above frame. The beam shows no divergence or scatter, unlike lightning or conventional munitions, while the resulting flash lacks fragmentation debris, suggesting energy transfer rather than explosive delivery. The precision implies targeting, not accident, raising questions about whether the event was atmospheric, experimental, or defensive. If directed energy can strike residential zones without warning, what separates testing from active deployment? Under overcast skies along a quiet coastal beach, a handheld phone camera recorded a sudden discoloration of seawater spreading inland. On camera, red-tinted water advances ashore. Caught on camera, coloration persists uniformly. Unidentified source originates offshore. No algal bloom warnings, industrial discharge reports, or storm runoff explain the rapid onset, while the color maintains density and boundary cohesion inconsistent with natural dilution. The event follows reports of aerial activity offshore hours earlier, suggesting possible material deposition into the water column rather than ecological emergence. If substances can be introduced into oceans from above without detection, how often are marine anomalies misattributed to natural cycles? During late afternoon in a suburban parking area, a handheld smartphone camera captured a large spherical object suspended below cloud cover. On camera, a reflective sphere remains stationary. Caught on camera, it exhibits no rotation. Unidentified object holds altitude silently. The sphere casts a consistent shadow, yet shows no visible lift mechanism, tether, or propulsion, while its surface reflects ambient light unevenly, suggesting non-rigid or adaptive material properties. It neither ascends nor descends despite changing wind conditions, hovered like a balloon, yet resisted drift like a fixed structure. If objects can remain suspended in shared airspace without energy signatures, how many have already been dismissed as illusions simply because they do nothing at all? After examining 30 documented incidents from around the world, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The sky above us is no longer just empty space. These are not rumors or ancient legends. They are moments captured on camera, frame by frame, recorded by ordinary people who happen to look up at the right time. Whether these events involve unknown objects, unexplained biological activity, or phenomena beyond current understanding, they all point to the same unsettling realization. We may not fully understand what shares our airspace. What makes these cases disturbing is not fear, but uncertainty. The silence after impact, the lack of answers, the way life continues as if nothing happened. Perhaps these events are warnings, or perhaps they are observations. Either way, they remind us how small we are beneath a sky that may be far more active than we are told. If these mysteries intrigue you, like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel Mystery Footage Uncovered, because some truths only reveal themselves when we keep watching.